What's up everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Jeffrey from Carismatic Visuals, and today we are going to show you how to balance the Zhiyun Weebill Lab. But first I want to thank our sponsor of the channel, Xstra Digital Storage. They are a company based in the Netherlands and they are a high-tech company providing storage solutions for all kinds of industries as well for the consumer market. As a videographer and photographer, I am always in need of digital storage and they are the right partner to help us out. They have external SSDs, external hard disk, SD cards, NAS servers and many more data solutions. You can use the coupon code Carismatic Visuals, which you can find in the description below, to get 10% off your purchases from Xstra Digital Storage. It's right there in my carrying case. I do not use this carrying case often because it fits in my backpack just pretty well, but I want to show you that it's possible right out of the box. And to do that, of course, we're going to put it onto its tripod first. That makes it a lot easier to balance it. We're going to take out the mounting plate, close the box, because that's all we need, and put it onto the table. To make sure that it fits onto your gimbal with a Sony A7III and a Tamron 2875 without losing the eye cup, there's a certain sequence I want to show you, and that starts with the mounting plate. I have the other accessories over here. This is the adapter that Zhiyun gives you, and there's also the lens mount. I don't use any of these because this lens is small enough in diameter to mount right on top of this mounting plate. I'm going to show you how to do that, and the first thing is that you screw it just tight enough that you can make some adjustments. So there's a ruler on the bottom of the mounting plate. However, I do not use this because I have a small trick for this certain camera and this lens setup that works for most lenses that I put on top of it. And the only thing we have to do is make sure that the mounting plate is flat with the back screen. So we are going to adjust the mounting plate to where I want it, and you're gonna make sure that's straight as well because that will make it easier to balance. Then we're going to use a coin to tighten it up, just like that. Close the microphone door. Of course, because most people use a gimbal to shoot videos, I added the RFS filter system and the anti-variable ND filter on top as well. This is to show you that it's possible with such system, and this is a heavier setup. This makes it just a little bit harder to balance, but it works without losing the eyepiece, which many of you might appreciate. So here's the gimbal. The good thing about this gimbal is that it has some locks to help you when balancing. Older gimbals, you had to fiddle around with the axis, and then sometimes one gets in the way of the other, and this one is actually pretty simple to balance, to be honest. So we lock the roll axis first, and the pan axis is locked as well. We have the camera right over here. The mounting plate is already mounted onto the camera, as you just saw. We're going to slide the slider into the mounting plate of the gimbal, and as you can see, it will start to tilt forward until you reach that perfect spot, which is around right over here. It's set about 1 millimeter away from the zero, so it's at 1 millimeter according to the ruler. Then we're going to loosen the roll axis and see how it's balanced right now. Actually, it's pretty good, but I want to show you how to do it anyway. You can balance the left and right roll axis with this mount over here. As you can see, if you do not balance it, it will just be all over the place. So what we're gonna do is slide it to the right until it's perfectly horizontal, which it is right now. Then we also have this axis over here, and as you can see, it's starting to tilt forward when you let go of the camera. This axis, the camera has to point upwards when you point it upwards and point forwards when you point forwards. So to balance this axis, you have to slide it towards you or away from you. And as you can see, it's sitting pretty still right now. We're gonna fasten this screw until it's perfectly done. And as you can see, that messed up our roll balance. So we're going to fix that as well. That works, yeah. And as you can see, it starts to tilt forward as well. So we're going to adjust that just a tiny bit. Right there. Stay there. So we have the pan axis as well. We have to loosen up this lock right over here. And you can do that by checking if it's... Oh, sorry. You can check it by seeing if it's tilting left and right, or you're going to check it with this method over here. And as you can see, the gimbal is perfectly level. As you can see, yeah? However, when you get it out of the box, it might be off, so I will show you how to do it. So right now you can see that the gimbal arm is pointing towards the table, and that's not what you want. So you're going to slide this. Oh, now it's going up. You're going to slide this until it's perfectly balanced, just like that. See? Just like that. I'm going to fasten it. And now it's time to show you that it works even in underslung mode without losing the eye cup. So the gimbal has been turned on right now. And as you can see, it works perfectly fine with a Sony A7III and the Tamron 2875. Now, the question is, does it work in underslung mode? To show you, I will use the tripod mounted on top of the handle and point it forwards. And as you can see, it has enough clearance to balance this setup and to use it in underslung mode. So many of you also want to use a microphone on top of your camera, and that's what I want to show you right now. For that I need my microphone, which is right over here. We're gonna shut down the gimbal to make sure the motors are off. See, it's off. And then we're going to add the Rode microphone on top. Immediately you will see that it's out of balance. And it is. To counteract this movement, I always loosen this one up and put it in the most lowest setting, I would say. Then we are going to loosen up the slider and see if we can adjust the tilt just a little bit. Now it's perfectly fine. Now with the microphone on top, you can see that the roll axis is off as well. So we'll adjust that one as well. It's tilting to the left, so we will adjust it until it's perfectly horizontal. So as you can see, it still works with a Rode microphone on top. And even if you want to balance it at 50, which is what I do most of the time, by the way, it still works even in underslung mode. Just like that. But of course not with a microphone on top, because then it doesn't work. As you can see, It works perfectly, even with a Rode microphone on top. This is a fairly lightweight one, but if you use a Rode Video Mic Go, it's even lighter, or if you use a Xstra, it still works, but you have to balance it just a little bit differently. So I want to show you a trick as well. My favorite mode is the follow mode. Most of you know that you can lock all the buttons with pressing the up button 3 times. You can also lock the follow mode when you press that up button 3 times while holding the trigger. Then you can get rid of the trigger and put the gimbal in follow mode permanently. It's also possible to do it in the app, but for those who doesn't want to use the app or who didn't know there's a function in the app, this is also one of the ways you can do it. And yeah, that's about it for balancing the gimbal. So why is it so important to balance the gimbal properly? Balancing the gimbal properly gives you the most out of your battery life. It also relieves the strain from the motors. It doesn't have to work as hard as when you have a imbalanced setup on top of your gimbal. And most of the time I balance my focal length at the focal length that I use the most, or something right in the middle. So for example, when you use 28 a lot or 75 a lot, balance it just right in the middle, because that's where your motors will, it's just the average of both focal lengths, you know. That's why I balance this setup on 50 most of the time. And if you balance it just right on 28, which is what most people try to do because that is the easiest, it will not work that properly when you go to 75mm. It will overload the motors, and I notice when you do that, that the motors will start to struggle. So, for example, when it's hot outside, the motors will suddenly shut down or start to shake, and if you balance it just right in the middle, that kind of stuff won't happen as often. To tell you something about the battery life, I use this setup in car shoots as well. So, for example, when I sit inside of a car and shoot other cars outside, you can imagine that the motors have to work really hard to keep up with the movements when people start to steer the car or brake or accelerate. And even with a properly balanced setup with a microphone on top and a cable hanging out for a external monitor, the battery life still reaches about 7-8 hours, which is amazing for such a small gimbal. So I can imagine if you use this setup for something else, something more static, that it's easily possible to get a longer battery life out of it. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Give me a like if you like my videos, and subscribe if you like my channel. Do not forget to check out my Instagram as well. I upload gear pictures daily, and that's something gearheads like me, like you probably, will definitely like. And yeah, let's say we're gonna see you next time. Ciao, ciao.